I am Agnivh, and I am delighted to welcome our esteemed panel, our Youth Squad members, and all the participants who've joined us from across the globe. I take this opportunity to introduce ECDF. The Early Childhood Development Forum, ECDF, is an initiative of D.N. Acharya Foundation. It is dedicated to advancing holistic child development through collaboration, knowledge sharing, and advocacy. ECDF brings together educators, practitioners, policymakers, and communities that create nurturing environments where every child can thrive. While today, as we observe the World Environment Day, we are reminded that our future of our planet is not shaped not only by the major decisions that we take and the policies that we make, but also by the simple choices that we make every day. From the way we consume resources and how we educate our next generation and how we inspire them, each action has power to create a ripple effect. So, as an organization, we are committed to nurturing the future generations. ECDF has organized today's webinar, where we will be diving deep into the conversation with our esteemed speakers who come from different walks of life, mostly from education, but yet different generation. And regardless of their backgrounds, how can we create a positive change through small choices every day is what we are going to be conversing today. So first on my panel is Dr. Vasavi Acharya. Vasavi is the chairperson of ECDF Tender Petals preschool chain and the creator of PCEPT concept. So Dr. Vasavi, my question to you is, how can PCEPT pedagogy help transform environmental awareness into lifelong sustainable habits? Over to you. Dr. Vasavi, kindly unmute yourself.
Thank you for your question, Amrit, and I welcome everyone to the ECDF webinar on today's very special day, which is the World Environment Day. So, like we are talking about PCEP. So let me tell you about what PCEP actually brings in terms of how we are teaching children in their early childhood years to conserve environment, to love nature. So when we talk about environment education, we often focus on creating awareness. So we teach children about pollution, we teach them about climate change, deforestation, say conservation. So while I feel that awareness is important, awareness alone doesn't lead to change. And this change is, that we need to create should be sustainable, and it should be sustainable habits. So this is where PCEPT pedagogy comes as a unique approach, because PCEPT is designed specially for children in their early childhood years and is built on 7 pillars of peace. And out of which peace with nature is the third pillar, the first being inner peace and peace with others. So the sequence I feel is extremely important, because before a child learns to care for plants, they need to first develop a sense of self, a sense of connection with themselves and with the people around them. So a child who learns empathy, love, kindness, gratitude, say responsibility, is more likely to extend those values to the natural world. So peace with nature is therefore not taught as a separate subject, but we are including it with uh, with the entire PCEP pillars as a way of living. So when we are looking at the early years, these are the most formative years of life, and during this years the child is developing, and they are acquiring their habits, their values, their attitudes, the behavior, etc. And so if we want the future generation to become environmentally responsive citizen, we need that this stage, which is the best stage to nurture and teach them the core values, we need to teach them a genuine love for nature, a love for Mother Earth. We call Earth our mother, and we should take care of Earth like we take care of our mother. So here we need to understand a few things. Children do not learn through lectures. They need to learn by watching, they need to learn through experiences, and most importantly, they need to learn by seeing. So they learn by example. So the role models are we adults who are setting examples for them. So now when we are looking at the curriculum of PSEP, so once we have put in a little bit of a sense of connection with the child, with nature, with themselves, with people around them, it slowly starts to grow with them. And we are looking at different kind of activities which are given in the PSEP curriculum. Like I would give a few examples because we have a short time. And the first one I would mention is planting saplings and care for the plant. So it's not about only planting the sapling. Today being World Environment Day, a lot of people are planting. But how much care are we giving to that plant? And we need to adopt a plant at least for about 3 years, because that is the time a plant needs to grow. Like a mother takes care of a child, so a mother takes care of us till we are able to be on our own. Similarly, we have to be responsible for the plant. Also, we have today, in fact, in our tender petal centers, we did the environmental pledges like save water, switch off the bulbs and all, and save electricity, stop littering, care for plants, recycle, reuse, all of this. So these kind of pledges also, when the children are saying, it becomes like an affirmation where it gets into their mind. So this is very interesting because today the children really enjoy telling these pledges. And then we also do activities like creating bird feeders, bird friendly spaces, places where we can give them some water. And these experiences actually, grow with the child, and they learn to understand the interconnectedness of life, like an animal and a bird, and all of it. So we also do a lot of recycle, reuse, and reduce activities, and do lot of waste management, exercises in our school through the different activities that are planned all around the year. So now I feel that these experiences, they are big learning milestones for the child, and they start to actually care for the environment genuinely. So now, after practicing these for a couple of months, when we ask the children that would you use plastic bag or would you use a bag made of cloth, they would always choose a bag made of cloth. So now their choices, as far as environment is concerned, as far as our own lives are concerned, it's very important that we realize the choices we make, because that is what is going to really take shape enough for our future. It's going to shape our future. So here we are looking at uh, creating mindfulness and gratitude towards nature, because we need to be thankful for the food we have, for the clean air we breathe, for the flowers, for the insects, for the birds and the bees, the rain, the nature. So this gratitude, an attitude of gratitude, if created, then our love for nature would be genuine. So I would like to, come to the last bit where Amrit also asked about sustainable habits. As a sustainable living thing, it's not about just looking at the sustainable goals, but sustainability should be a part of our lives. It's not a one-day celebration. So these goals should be, practiced day in and day out by the children, by the adults, by the parents who are around them, because we are going to mold the children who we are nurturing. So I feel that in this way, PSEP pedagogy is creating some kind of awareness in the children, lives of the children through the different activities, and we are really, really looking to including more activities as and when the child they understand more about nature, about flora, about fauna, about the different kind of trees, about the indigenous trees, the indigenous fruits and vegetables. So we are going to expand that. So let us therefore move beyond awareness and focus on nurturing habits, values, and lifelong stewardship. So this is what we want through our piece of pedagogy. I think I with this I would want to conclude. Thank you so much.
Well, I quite like what you mentioned about, the gratitude attitude. And I think that's really important. But also the part that you mentioned about doing daily affirmations or at least weekly affirmations with younger children related to environment and how we should protect them and how we should nurture for them is again so important. We usually do that with ourselves. A lot of parents and schools have started doing body affirmations with the body, but I think that can also be done with the environment, and it's such a beautiful thought. So moving on, next on our panel is Dr. Mayuri Dutt. She's a trainer, a science communicator, a former principal of Don Bosco School, Malda, and a multi-awardee. So, Dr. Mayuri, my question to you is, many people feel environmental challenges are too big for an individual school, or it's too big to take an action. So how and what do you recommend, like small changes that we can do every day or small choices that we can create to make a change that is extremely meaningful? Over to you.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. This is very important question because if we start in the school, as we say, if we strike them young, then only that practice goes beyond. I would like to begin with a quote of Margaret Mead. He said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." Many people look at climate change, pollution, biodiversity, and feel that this is simply a problem for not an individual person. It is a common problem. But history teaches us many, many things. We all know what has happened in the past and what our generation has suffered in, say, a few years back, and the impact of which is now being actually seen among the children who have lost 2 consecutive years because of this major problem which our Mother Earth, and due to such an unforeseen reason, we have faced. So what we would say is, I would rather say that a single drop of water, if collected together, then only it turns into a sea. So if we talk about the schools, yes, in India, initiative is being taken on paper and pen. It depends upon how much we are actually taking care of it in a school. Affirmations are said, the gratitude is being shown to the trees, so-called days are observed. But are we continuing settling those days into a practice? So that is very, very important. You know that our children should be taught about how things has to be done, and they do follow for a day or so, like reusable bottles, conserving water, reducing waste, planting trees, switching off unnecessary light. That's as Vasavi has very correctly said. And I really appreciate that in the Tender Petals, a small Montessori school is starting such a beautiful initiative by taking an oath and coming together for it. But here, the problem arises with the middle school children and that of the senior students who are not taking these things seriously. We all know that today we are talking about sustainability, but Mahatma Gandhi ji has said, which really is there deeply in my mind, heart, and soul, that be the change that you wish to see in the world. So, how many of us are doing that is the question. He said long, long time ago, and if it would have been followed, things would have been different. So, as an educator, we need to understand the power of small actions, and sustainable goals are to be followed. And by 2030, there are certain things which we have to commit to, and there are certain sustainable goals which we have to actually start from the school initiative. So, in that context, I would say that it is the daily habits, values, examples, and we have to shape responsible citizens. And we need to have some principle to apply to the environmental stewardship. If that is given to the students, I think that be the change that you wish to see in the world will come into force. And frankly speaking, now I've started saying that we are the ones who have to inject into our children's and make sure that the regular medicine is given to them to have that motivation to continue. We all know that last in few years there had been a lot of innovations which we have never done in last 25 years, and through those innovations all kind of reusable things have come into force. We all know with tin cans, you know, that we are making utensils. We are with papaya, this banana leaves, we are making uh, actually we can say serving tubs. We are making spoons with the wood. And this is one message to our youth that the action has started. And we have to continue with this action. So I would rather conclude with a powerful reminder from Robert Swan. He said that the greatest threat to our planet is the belief that someone else will save it. So that belief has to be taken care of. With that, I would thank you all for giving me an opportunity to speak in this platform. Happy World Environment Day.
Well, thank you, Dr. Mayuri. And I think you really pointed out in the correct direction that, yes, a lot of things go on at the foundational years. When children are young, they're more receptive, even at the primary level. But something goes wrong by the time they come to middle school, you know, they take Earth for granted. And I think that is where the change really needs to come, because the change is happening earlier than that also. Well, thank you so much. I really like your thought, and I really like the way you concluded the question. Moving on, our next speaker for the day is Mohana Kelkar. She is Business Development Leader at GSG UAE. So, Mohana ji, if you could share an example of how simple actions by individuals or communities have led to larger positive environmental impact. Have you come across something like that, maybe at a school level or at a community level? Please, we would like to know some examples. Yes, please go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you, Amrit, for this question. First of all, wishing all of you a very happy Environment Day. And I hope it is happier every day, because every day is Environment Day. We just celebrate one day. So I'll like to quote two examples here. First is from our school itself, Global Indian International School, which is our Indian curriculum school here in Dubai, that we have conservation monitors and we have sustainability monitors in every class. So getting out of the classroom, you have to switch off your lights, you have to, all these things get into a daily habit. And once it gets into a daily habit, it becomes a lifestyle. And that's what we want to really inculcate into our students. Here, we also involve the parents because we ensure that the school, the home, and the students work hand in hand. So these sustainability monitors ensure that even at home, they talk about it. If the father is keeping the lights on, they also ensure that they tell him that, okay, let's switch off the light when we get off, because these are the small actions, I think, which come into picture and they become a lifestyle. Second example I would like to quote is about my very dear friend who has, converted her hobby into social work. She has started a community called as Save, Scrap and Soup. So it's called as Planet Tomorrow. How she started was, when we give our garments for stitching to the tailor, what happens with the remaining part of the garment that is not used in the stitching, and it goes in the landfill. And tons and tons of fabric goes into the landfill. And she decided one day that why can't she convert that particular hobby of sewing into getting sustainability drives around. And she started about 10 years back with a very small group of friends, and now she has about 500 plus buddies across the world. And what she does is, on Saturday and Sunday, she calls those buddies home. If they have a sewing machine, it's fine. If they don't have it, it's also fine. So there are lots of stages in stitching. So what she does is, from the remaining fabric that she has, She stitches small purses or small buttons or, bags. And believe me, it's not about only the girls, but boys also are a part of this. So it's also not gender bias. And right now, as I speak, she has, I think, stitched about 3,700 bed sheets, 5,800 bags, 5,800 pillows, smaller gifts and everything. It's just, I mean, I can't even have count of that. And her name is Shambhavi Rajgopal. You can always, go on LinkedIn and check for her. She has done so much on this that, it's like efficiency is more important than perfection. So, however you stitch it, it is your doing. And I think that particular small step that she took has grown into a global community. And that is what is one more example I wanted to, mention here. Uh, I would like to conclude with not a quote, but from David Attenborough, whom we all know very well, that, if we have to have our children protect the planet, we have to make them experience that planet. Take them out, take them into the garden, take them into the, on the beaches, take them on the river sides, take them, wherever you can. And when they see all those smaller animals and bigger animals, they'll want to really, keep the planet the way it is, at least, if not take it like it was before. So thank you very much for this opportunity. And there's so much that we can talk about environment. You can go on for the whole day, but next time we will have another topic for sure. Thank you very much.
For sure, and I think you're so right. We can just go on and on. I really like your example, and adding on to that, I've come across several brands. I've come across a brand. I can't recollect its name right now, but they take empty packets of chips, like all the potato chips that we have.
Mm.
They take those packets, they cut them into thin strips, and then they weave it into bags and pouches. And what happens is, especially places that experience heavy rainfall or are extremely humid, where cloth bags may not be very sustainable in terms of, rainwater might seep in. So when you're using plastic bags that are recycled and made out of chips packets, becomes far more easier for the consumers to use.
Wow.
So I, I
Lovely.
think I think there are a lot of people across the globe who've taken so many steps, even with food wastage. Uh, People have now started making bags and shoes and fabrics out of the coconut, the husk of coconut that may not be used, or the banana tree fiber. So I think a lot of people have come up with different ways to either, make fabrics more sustainable, makes recycling more bags. So I think lovely examples we've got across the globe. And I really like what you've been pointed out. We've got to experience the planet if you want to save it for the next generation. That was so powerful out there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, moving on to our next panel, we've got Smruti Samantrai. She is a climate reality mentor, a sustainability faculty, and a curriculum designer at Strategic Communicator India. So, my question to you, Smruti, is that you've been in this field of sustainability, you've been propagating about environment, sustainability. I'm sure you must have come across a school while you're doing your practice, or any place that has impacted to shape the community engagement. And how have you or your organization supported that? If you could share some ideas or example, over to you.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much, Amrit. And I have been hearing a lot of reality-based stories, and it's really good to know what's happening at ground zero, definitely. So, what happens is like, yes, I have worked with various schools. I know few schools which, they actually grow their own food. So the students are involved in, growing their own foods, in growing vegetables, their own, like salads and likewise. So for any school which gets into practicing sustainability, it's very crucial that, they create an impact communication out of it. That's what I have noticed. Because when you are um, kind of, trying to inculcate some really good positive behavioral change within certain stakeholders, be it students or, teaching faculty members or non-teaching staff also, then also you get the ripple effects. It can't stay stagnant. So when you grow, your community has to also grow along with you. So that's why it's very critical that, that we take the community along while, designing any such programs. And everything has to be very intent oriented and measurable. So if any school is not able to get into that hardcore thing of, measuring everything and getting the data accurate and up to date, then also in small measures, whatever you can do, you should do. Any school should do. Why? I'll tell you. Like, I have seen certain schools, after growing their own food, their food wastage has actually reduced from around, like 30 to 40%. Kids go back to their parents saying that, why are you giving me so much food in my lunch box? I can't have it. Why are you wasting food? Earlier, like all of you must have also seen that ad wherein somebody is asking a child that, where do you get your tomatoes? And they said that, okay, we get it from shop, because there is a gap of understanding and awareness. They don't know how many months of, how many days of patience is required, what kind of seeds to be sown. So when you involve them in the process, that's the impact which is going to bear the fruit in future. And this impact has to be communicated through storytelling measures and all. So I know of a school wherein, kids came forward to collect all those Tetra packs from their canteen. They filled those Tetra packs with sand and they created a soundproof room. So that is an additional gift kind of, system which kids actually give to their school. I mean, school could have simply, invested in creating a soundproofing wall, but then they created it and it's very well performing. It's an added advantage to their, music room. And, on top of that, for the schools also, for the management, it's also very good in a way that when you actually create impact sheets or communicate your activities and the, outcomes of the activities, then you start building a credibility. And especially when you're engaging the community alongside, you're making the schools greener, resource efficient, more nature friendly. Your curriculum is also designed in a way which is packed with, such kind of activities. So all of this creates a loop of productivity wherein people come forward with their ideas and resources. So in a nutshell, like when you start sowing a seed of, learning, anything which is very close to nature, there is no loss in there. So with this informed and intended kind of format, not just the child, the entire community grows. So that is what I always propagate that, like you should always move forward in a way that, inspired by nature for climate, for our future, which is exactly the theme of this year's, World Environment Day. So on this note, I can literally go on and on, of course. I've been working in this domain for so many years, but yeah, I really wish everyone World Environment Day, and let's you know, uh, make it a point that we celebrate our environment and nature every day, not just on 5th June. So yeah, on that note, I'll end my discussion.
Well, thank you so much. I think listening from an expert like you, I'm sure the session could go on and on, but thank you for keeping in mind the time that we have. And I really liked what you mentioned about intent. Intent is so important. Like, I truly believe your actions, show your intention. So if we really want to have a good intent towards our environment and the world that we live in, uh, we need to start taking the right actions right from a very small age, connect it with teenagers, adults, and then continue having a good practice within the space that we have and the love that we have for our environment. And one thing that has been echoed, I think, by all the speakers is that it's not just celebrating today because it's a World Environment Day, but it is something that we have to keep making minor changes, major changes every day, every single day of our life. Moving on, our next speaker is Ruben Gracia. He is an ESL and ELT trainer. He has more than 3 decades of experience, and he's from Peru. We welcome you in today's panel. My question to you is that what opportunities do you see for citizens across the globe who want to become environmental change makers, and what can they do in their daily lives to bring about that impact? So over to you.
Thank you for the questions. Greetings from Peru. This is a very interesting point because just the name as change maker, I teach students and I tell them that the only thing that always change is the change, and they are the change. So if we give them the idea, but more than the idea, the concern of how important is our house, the view of our house is not our home only, is our planet. So we have to take care of our planet. And what changes do we need to do? We all give this subject of global perspective. I've been teaching global perspective for quite some years. And since my positions as a teacher, I have to tell them that since they open their eyes, they can change the ideas of how to take care of their home. Let's call global home. Because the inner home is your dad, your mom, where you sleep, where you eat at home. But if you go out of your house, what do you want to find? Do you want to feel safe as well? So, what kind of air do you want to breathe? What do you need to do from your side? First is to be really convinced that you can tell people how to take care of our environment, how to deal with trash. In Peru, there are many street vendors, and you can find food everywhere. So, how do they take care of the environment? They have to deal a lot with their trash. What kind of trash they have to work with? And the most interesting idea for us is how can we industrialize the trash? But we don't have that kind of industry here in Peru. The good idea is how to have the organic trash and to do things in order to collaborate with the whole system of safety. We from in Peru, we learn about other countries dealing with this. And only we can talk. First, we have to have this in mind, since we are convinced that we can do things to change other people's minds facing this issue, we can lessen the concern because we can say, I am a change maker because I'm changing the minds of the people, and they are going to be concerned about what they do from now on. This is what we do at the school, for example. In the school, we have campaigns. We go to the beach because our school is near the beach. And we go to the beach, and there are always people exercising. And there are people exercising, and some of them carry the bottle of drinks, plastic bottles of drinks. And I tell the children, elementary school boys and girls, asking them, hey, hello, good morning. We are from a school Noa Vista College, and we would like to know what could you do with that plastic bottle after you finish drinking? And interesting, the answers that we give from them. Some of them, I don't know. Sometimes I forget, I put it somewhere. What? The reaction of the children is like, what are you saying? No way, you have to do this and that because we have to protect the planet. So they give them a very good speech of how to change their minds facing this big problem. And I'm really convinced from here that doing this, and if we do this in all the schools since kindergarten, everything is going to be ready from the minds. We don't need to have the tools because we are school boys, we are school teachers, probably we don't have the tools that we need as a whole government. But we can give a grain of sand, and as much grain of sand that we give, we are going to have a mountain, and the mountain can do something for the real change. And this can be seen on television, for example. If we do great campaigns, television is going to have an impact, and they want to spread the news. This school is doing this, many schools in the community, and a lot of schools do the same. And this country is doing this. So the government needs to collaborate with them, and other countries will imitate. And that's a whole thing to do. So, as a conclusion, I might say that since we are human beings living in a planet, we have to ask ourselves, what do we need to have a safe global home to live for our well-being? This is what the children need to know. And when they become adults, they are not going to be only change makers. They are going to be the ones that are going to have a transcendence for all the things that they have done since they were children. This is what we are doing here. We are doing in our school, and I hope most of people do the same. Thank you for the question.
Well, thank you so much. What I really like that, that you discuss with your students, especially at elementary level, because you know that the loops lie there, and the answers they give you that, we didn't throw it in the trash, or the trash can. And I think that is something very valuable even as an educator, to remind them what to do, because that is not expected of teenagers at elementary school. But well, having said that, you did mention about certain policies, that if schools and their good work is showcased on the television, and I'm sure it's going to give a big push to the government to make certain policies. Talking about policies is my next question for my next speaker. Next, we have Miss Maha Shade. She's an educator and EdTech expert, international speaker, and author from Lebanon. So my question to you is that since Mr. Rubin left at policies, can you tell us that, how can individual actions complement broader environmental policies to create a systematic change? So are there certain policies maybe your country follows, or any other country that that follows, or any environmental policies that you're aware that can contribute to systematic change? Over to you, Maha.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for giving me the chance to be with you today, and thank you for the thoughtful questions. Actually, when we are going to talk about environmental change, many people, they just think about government, they think about international agreement, and they think about large-scale policies. While these actually are undoubtedly essential, I believe one of the biggest misconceptions is that environmental responsibilities or responsibility actually belong only to policymakers. In reality, lasting environmental progress happen when when the public policy and the individual at the same time action work together. Environmental policies create the roadmap, but people themselves they can determine whether that roadmap lead to meaningful change or it's not going to do that. If I'm going to give you an example, if the government, for example, in my country, as you suggested example about mine, if the government in Lebanon introduce a recycling regulation, but citizens don't separate their waste, the policy loses much of its effectiveness. So it's not just enough to share a certain policy without the implementation. A country can invest in renewable energy, for example, but communities continue to waste electricity. So the environmental benefits remain limited. So that's why policies can open the door, but the individual himself can decide whether to walk through them or not. What makes individual action actually important or powerful is their collective impacts. One person, for example, if he's going to reduce plastic consumption, may seem insignificant. However, when millions, just all of us together, we are going to make the same choice. So industries are going to respond, and markets, for example, they are going to adapt. And governments gain stronger public support to introduce more ambitious environmental measures. I usually say that environmental change move into two directions. The first one, as you mentioned, policies that are going to influence people, but people also influence policies. How? Throughout history, if we're going to go, we can see that many environmental reforms were driven by citizens who raised awareness, who changed behaviors, and who demand better solutions. Today, for example, we can see that through communities cleanup campaigns, or if we're going to speak about yes climate movement or any sustainable business initiatives and educational program. These action actually are very important, hence they create the public momentum, and that often become the foundation of stronger environmental legislation. As an educator and a social media expert and trainer, I believe that awareness itself is a form of environmental action. We believe in a digital age. We live actually nowadays in a digital age where one informed individual can influence hundreds or even thousands of people. A teacher, for example, can inspire the generations of environmentally conscious students. Parents also, if we're going to speak, highlight the role of the parents, they can help us to shape the habits of a family. Or anyone, for example, can encourage sustainable choices among a global audience. So it's just, if we want to say group, we as a group, all of us, we are supposed to work together in order to be able to have a sustainable environment, not just government or a certain policy. This is why environmental responsibility is no longer limited to scientists or policymakers. Every person should have the ability to become a catalyst for change within their own sphere of influence. Another important aspect, if I would like to highlight or taking into accountability, is when individuals are going to embrace sustainable practices, they send a clear message to business and government about the future they want. Consumer choices influence production. Public, for example, expectations, they can influence political priorities. Communities' engagement influence institution decision. In this way, personal action helps shape a broader system. At the same time, we must remember that sustainability is not about perfection. Many people feel overwhelmed because environmental change appears too large. But when we are going to have a systematic change, is not created by a few perfect individuals. It's going to be created by millions of people making better choices consistently. Whether it's reducing waste, conserving water, supporting sustainable product, planting a tree, educating children, or simply raising awareness, every action is going to contribute to a larger movement actually. The environmental challenge we face today require actually, sorry, the environmental change actually require a lot of work. We must remember that it's not about perfection. Many people feel sometimes overwhelmed because environmental change seems too large for one person. But when we are going to have a systematic change, it's not just created by a few perfect individual. It's gonna be created, as I mentioned earlier, by millions of ordinary people making better choices consistently. So today we require both top-down and bottom-up solution. We need the government vision who are going to provide us with vision and policy, and we need at the same time the institution to provide innovations and support. But citizens must provide commitment and action. When environmental forces are supported actually together by informed, engaged, and responsible individual, change becomes faster, stronger, and more sustainable. I would like to conclude with just a short message reflect my personal belief that the future of our planet will not be shaped only by the decision made in government offices or international conferences. It will be shaped actually or honestly by the choices we make, we as a human every day, in our home, in our schools, our workplace, and our communities. Policies create the framework, but we as people create the transformation. Thank you for listening.
Well, thank you so much. I quite like what you pointed out was that even if the government makes policies, various policies, and the citizens are not committed to it, it's eventually going to fail. So I believe that the commitment needs to be very balanced. The citizens of each country, the globe, need to be in sync with the policies that the government is making, and together we need to work on this. Well, thank you so much. We come to an end to a segment. We're moving now to another segment that is very special to ECDF and has been an ECDF initiative too. We move to the Youth Squad segment. And we've got two Youth Squad leaders with us today as speakers. So let's welcome both of them. And my first question is going to be for Agnivh Bora. Now, Agnivh Bora is a 12th standard student at the Assam Valley School. He's also the founder of Green Teen Foundation and also the ECDF Youth Squad leader. Well, that is so much in your hat right now, Agnivh. So my question to you is that since you've already founded a NGO under the name Green Teen Foundation, which is such a nice bell to it, with the tagline that it's youth for earth and earth for youth. I quite like that, and I believe a very good initiative. Can you throw some light on what is the vision that you have uh, while you were creating this NGO? And what does your NGO already do? What does your foundation already do? How are you and your foundation responsible to engage and empower young people to become, environmental stewards? And how are you undertaking different projects or environmental education awareness? And how are you maintaining sustainable practices within the communities that you're working with? So over to you, Agnivh.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Amrit ma'am, for the introduction and for your question. To begin talking about Green Teen, I have to first share what inspired me to start this organization in the first place. Well, I'm born and brought up in Guwahati, which is a city in Assam, a city which is surrounded by green hills, and the mighty Brahmaputra River flows through the city. And there was this one site ever since when I was little, in the middle of the city, which was almost impossible to ignore. And that was a massive open drain that ran almost through the entire city, and which was especially visible along what we call the Zuro Tinyali Road. And every time I passed by it, there was this awful stench and an unpleasant sight, which would cause me to cover my nose and turn my face away. Like many of us today here, I was aware that the environment around us was degrading gradually. But it was only about a year ago that I learned something that completely changed my perspective. The huge open drain that I just talked about was actually once a beautiful flowing river that ran straight across the city. A clean river where fish swam and people even took baths. The contrast between what it was and what it currently is was eye opening for me. And that realization stayed with me. And that eventually became the spark for what inspired me to give birth to Green Tea. The vision of Green Teen can be summed up in our tagline, which is Youth for Earth and Earth for Youth. Our goal is to basically create a platform where young individuals can come together to discuss environmental challenges and learn about sustainable solutions. And most importantly, take action. We believe that youth are not just leaders of tomorrow, they are the change makers of today. Our first step would be to build a network of environmentally conscious young individuals. We plan to reach out to schools, colleges, and other educational institutes to conduct awareness campaigns and encourage students to become active participants in the uh, environmental conservation. Living in an urban area, we often witness challenges such as shrinking green spaces and polluted rivers, poor waste management, and even declining air quality. While these issues may seem overwhelming, meaningful change often begins with very small actions. Through Green Teen, we want to inspire young people to reduce their carbon footprint through simple lifestyle choices like reducing waste, avoiding overconsumption, reducing material consumption, recycling responsibly, and adopting more sustainable habits in their daily lives. One of the initiatives that we are planning and really excited about actually is the creation of eco-friendly products that we can use day to day from waste materials. And one of the concepts that we came up with is the idea of a patchwork bag. In tailor shops, we can see there are a lot of clothes that are just lying around, large quantities of fabric just lying around in places, and they're often discarded. Instead of letting these materials end up in landfills, we plan to collect and repurpose them into attractive, reusable patchwork bags. We also hope to involve local communities and local community members to stitch these patchwork bags to create income opportunities for them. This initiative reflects that Green Teen stands for not only environmental stewardship, but also simultaneously it creates social change and works towards the betterment of society. Um, and this is just one of the ideas that we have come up with. Uh, with more thinking and more individuals becoming a part of our foundation, it is bound that we're going to come up with more new innovative ideas that can change the way we look at sustainable living. Today, our planet faces numerous environmental challenges, from global warming and climate change to devastating forest fires, polluted rivers, contaminated oceans, biodiversity loss, and increasing waste generation. The list it goes on. The scale of these challenges can sometimes feel very intimidating, but every moment starts with a small step. Green tea is simply a small drop of water in a vast ocean. Yet we believe that countless drops together can create waves of change. Through our humble efforts, we hope to contribute in whatever way we can towards building a cleaner and greener and more sustainable future. More importantly, we want Green Teen to become a platform where young people can advocate for their own future, collaborate with like minded individuals, share ideas, and transform those ideas into action. After all, every great organization in history has succeeded because it brought people together around a common purpose. As we move forward, we will be actively seeking collaborations with schools, organizations, environmental groups, community leaders, and individuals who share our vision. We invite everyone who believes in the power of collective action to join us on this journey. Together, we can ensure that future generations inherit maybe cleaner rivers one day, cities that breathe easier, and a planet that thrives. Thank you. And I look forward to working with all of you in making a difference with one small action at a time. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Agnivh. I believe wonderful initiatives at your end. And since this is the beginning, we wish you all the best. And we hope to see more and more campaigns and awareness programs with other schools, corporate companies, and the list goes so on. Well, let's move to our next youth leader. Next, we've got Miss Sneha Singh. She's a research graduate and currently leading a project from Shinchan Education with the Uttarakhand government. She's also an ECDF Youth Squad member. So, welcome you today. My question to you, Sneha, is what message would you like to share with adults and decision makers about the role of youth in creating an environmental change? And what is one thing that you believe as a person that every young person should adopt to build a more sustainable future? So over to you, Sneha.
Thank you, Amrit ma'am, for the question and the introduction. So, hi everyone, good evening. So, yeah, I am a youth squad member and working with the government of Uttarakhand regarding a ECC project. So, yeah, over the past few years, I have worked with schools, NGOs, and community-based initiatives focused on child development, education, and family engagement. So, my academic research has also explored like on child development, which was all around policy practices gaps within public ECC settings in India, which has strengthened my belief that sustainable development must begin with the investing in children and young people at the foundational stage. As a young professional, I believe that youth are not just the leaders of tomorrow, they are change makers of today. Young people bring energy, creativity, innovation, and a genuine commitment to building a better future. So, my message to adults and decision makers is to move beyond seeing youth as the beneficiaries of environmental initiatives and start recognizing them as active contributors. When young people are given a platform to share their ideas, participate in decision making, and lead community actions, they become powerful drivers of environmental change. At the same time, I believe one environmental action every young person or a young youth should adopt is responsible and sustainable living. This includes reducing waste, being mindful of consumptions, as everybody is mentioning again and again, conserving water and energy, and making environmentally conscious choices in our daily lifestyles and lives. While these actions may seem small, their collective impact can be transformative. And that's all from my side. Thank you so much for the opportunity, ECDF and Vasavi ma'am. Thank you all.
Well, thank you, Sneha. I believe, yes, it's very rightly said that the government and the policymakers should actually see the youth as the biggest change maker, because it is you are going to be handling the next generation, and you're going to be taking care of the environment and the globe. So, very rightly said there. Thank you so much to all our panelists for sharing their insights and experiences. And a special thank you to our Youth Squad members for bringing the voice of the next generation into this important conversation. Today's discussion has reinforced a very powerful message. Creating a better future does not always require extraordinary actions. It begins with simple, conscious choices that can be consistent by the citizens of the globe. The reason of having today people from different walks of life and from different countries on this conversation is to ensure that the globe is making a change for a better future. Every reusable bottle, every tree planted, every effort made to reduce waste, every conservation that inspires awareness, and every child taught to respect nature contributes to a larger movement of change. And as we leave today, on behalf of ECDF and DN Acharya Foundation, thank you once again for joining us in celebrating World Environment Day. Let's continue to learn, act, and inspire. Thank you so much, everybody, and I wish you a wonderful day ahead and a wonderful weekend ahead. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.